Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I am a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on March 18th, 2023 at approximately 4:28 p.m. PST. Now, I return to this world for one, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a much better life for virtually everybody. I build myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the same tools I personally use, and the philosophies of life that I talk about are the ones I personally live by. So this is not a question of, follow what I say, not what I do. These are the same paths I personally walk. Now, before I get into anything, I will go this route. Two things. One, if you look at the top of the chat room at this point, you'll find a whole pile of links of various different people that frequent this chat room. These are links to their specific room or to their specific channels. I encourage you to give them a listen. If you like what they're talking about, give them a thumbs up. And absolutely further that by subscribing to their channel. Okay. Now, the same applies with this channel. If you like the way the stream is going, do give us a thumbs up and absolutely subscribe to the channel. And then if you really want to be nice, share the daylights out of it. This would be really appreciated. Okay. Now, starting off, we have Shadow and Sun coming in with the gold. Then we have Kimberly coming in with the silver, and Nightmare is in with the bronze. Okay, hopefully your guys' day is going well. Lord knows mine's gone interestingly. It's actually not bad. I have come to some understandings that were a little bit, shall we say, challenging to cope with. But, like I said, I decided that we've got to start planning things out. And of course, I don't have my list right in front of me. Oh, yes, I do. Fantastic there, Kimberly. Nice to hear. I'll be setting up an appointment sometime probably this week to see about getting a lawyer involved so I can actually get things done in the right order. Okay, I'm just setting things up because it turns out now, I had 31 books, so now we're up to, I think, 34. But I got to get that all moved around. Now, with that in mind, people, okay, we've got a real wonderful setup going on. There's been a lot of talk about different technology, and people keep talking, keep hinting at it. I've got to remind people of one thing really, really important here. Okay, I keep hearing tell of, the aliens are going to invade us. We're all going to die. We're all going to be raised to the fifth dimension or the fourth dimension or the seventh or whatever. Okay, going to put a couple of things to rest here. Well, in all likelihood, probably not. Okay, because people have been talking about the Earth being flat for centuries. And as was pointed out to me by one individual, why, even with the flat earthers, would they acknowledge that all the rest of the planets in the solar system are round? Why would they possibly stand their ground on Earth itself being flat? And we have in with honorable mention, Nylock. How you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, the thing I want to point out here is where it comes to a couple of major misconceptions. Okay. And I will give you the shall we say, the plausible reason for them. I keep hearing tell that number one, aliens are going to invade and take over Earth. They're just waiting for the right moment. People, if the aliens wanted to take over the Earth, okay, it would be over. The fight would be over before you even knew it was started. And here's how they do it. Okay. starting from about the orbit of Mars. They would fire a wide-angle subquantum EMP pulse. Now, this EMP pulse, first of all, as you're well aware, as many of you are well aware, okay, the EMP pulse will knock out electronics, but a subquantum destroys the molecular alignment of all electronic components. Never mind if they're attached, it just shuts them down. Okay, rest assured, it doesn't make them structurally unsound, only from an energetic standpoint. Okay, so they fire off this subquantum wide-angle EMP pulse. Okay, they take the entire planet and wipe all technology out. Okay, and all existing component parts. Now, if you think about this little problem, okay, we have this neat little situation where in the last 100 years, most of the data has been moved on to electronics. There are not many people that know in their head how to make plastic, how to refine oil. It's all done by, computer at this point. Wipe the computers out, we're back in the Stone Age. Okay. Now, the neat part with universal law there, Kimberly, ultimately, hey, Joe, how you doing? Ultimately, you are correct in one sense. Okay, they could kill us all, but what nobody has freedom from. We have, all living entities have free will. You've got freedom of choice. So, yes, they could kill us all. What you don't have, okay, and nobody has it, is freedom from consequence. Okay, it just doesn't, you just don't get that option. Oh, extremely, Kimberly. Absolutely, the consequences would be absolutely insane. Okay, now we take karma, which is energy out, energy in. It's going to create its own complication. Okay, but then we have the consortium, and the Earth itself is one of several different planets that actually hold this rank, but it's the only one in this sector. Okay, if any one of the off-world races were to attack Earth, were to try and do this, the consortium would launch an attack against the offending races' homeworld, where their primary government sits, where their secondary government sits, and where their tertiary government sits. And they would not give warning. It would be a simultaneous attack. And it's not like they would pound the world flat. They would simply use a planet buster on it. Okay, net result, they no longer have the capacity to function. Has this been done before? Yes. Okay, but with that in mind, we are looking at a few things. Okay, that's the first one I want to point out. Second one is this. So many people talk to me about the reality, about this issue of, the reptilians are taking over. The Queen is reptilian. All these major corporate players are reptilian. Guys, look in the late 70s, early 80s, I believe 77 to 82. There was a series called V. Okay, in which this whole thing, a series called V, and then there was a couple of movies. Okay, or V Returns. You get the idea. Just look up V. This whole scenario, nobody ever talked about it, about reptilians taking over the world, until that happened. Okay, now I'm just going to scan down here, and we have Henry has come in. How you doing, Henry? Glad you could join us. Yeah, that's just it, world. World's going Queen Lizard breath. You know, the reality of the whole reptilian is interfering or is controlling Earth is completely, as near as I've ever been able to figure out, has been based on a freaking movie. Okay, and this is something people have got to start thinking about. Okay, besides that, if you look at most of the reptilian races, what we call reptilian, they're not technically reptilian, but they do look it, so we'll work with it. Okay. Hey, Eternity, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay. Most of the reptilian races are, number one, they are carnivorous. Now, they have no rules of war. Okay, there is no issue of you can do something wrong that is a crime in war. They go, that's life. We're going in, we're going to kill. So that's all there is to it. Okay, this is where we run into a major complication here. Okay, now those are two of the major things. Now here's the other side of this is when we look at this whole concept of conquest. Okay, now I love the movies that go, we're going to fight back the aliens. It makes for a great storyline. But understand, if we are dealing with, for instance, Independence Day, where they uploaded a Terran-based virus to override computer technology. Now, I'm not debating that some humans have a phenomenal mind. Okay, but I will tell you this: hooking up a Terran computer, even state-of-the-art Terran computer, is like hooking up a very nice looking, very fancily carved abacus to like hooking up a modern computer, even the state of the art, to an alien computer. Okay, is interesting. Okay, the concept is great, except for one critical flaw. Human technology works on a binary system. Okay, off-world technology, where it comes to computer interaction, works on a trinary system and on a triphasic biomagnetic imprint. Now, when you couple those together, picture trying to take a binary system to connect to a trinary system. It's along the same lines as taking the best carved abacus in existence and plug that into a Terran modern computer and see how far you get with the reprogramming. Okay, there is no compatibility between off-world computers and Terran computers. Okay, I shouldn't say there isn't, but it's certainly not readily available. Okay, there are technologies that the off-worlders have. Now, I will tell you this. When we start talking about triphasic, and we will get to that with some of the tools. Okay, some of the technology we're about to talk about today. Okay, when we're dealing with triphasic, okay, you are talking about something that deals with past programming, future programmed evolution, and current condition. Okay, this is the way it operates. Human technology doesn't do that. Human technology hasn't even come up with effective AI. Okay, I mean, you've got some great programs to emulate it to make it look really fancy. Okay, and they have had some remarkable success. From what I understand, with the Lord of the Rings, when the Uruk-hai were coming down on, forget the name of the town that they were of the city they were coming down on, which is terrible. But when they were coming down, hate fuzzies. when they were coming down the hill, okay, and they were attacking, they went to attack, and then the Rohirrim came over the hill, and there was only, from what I gather, 8 actual actors dressed as orcs. Everything else you saw there was CGI. But it was programmed with an AI interface so that it would react as would make practical sense. Well, the first time they fired up the system, all of the AI orcs turned around and ran for the hills. They saw this mass of horses coming down the hill, and all of them took off running. Now, this would be the rational approach. Okay, needless to say, we now have 8 orcs standing in front of this mass of cavalry. Okay, this is where mankind falls short on the AI. Off-worlders haven't run into that problem. Okay, and where is it here? I do believe, and I keep forgetting, I believe it's the Talons here, which is why I wrote the book. Nope, sorry, Xenon. Okay, the Xenon are actually, they are literally sentient robots. Okay, as in, they take mechanical components wherever they can get them to emulate the local wildlife and flora and fauna. Okay, so mankind does not have this capacity yet, to the best of my knowledge. Okay, they've done some remarkable work with plastics forming and what have you. But remember, if the off-worlders attack, they wipe out all that technology and you're back to square one. Okay, now remember, guys, if you have a question, even if it's not on the topic or on the particular item we're talking about, absolutely do me a favor, put it in all caps in the chat room. Okay, because that way I can actually find the thing. It is not called screaming. It is called waving your hand to get my attention. Okay, if I have an answer, I will do my best to give it to you. If I don't, well, I'll tell you I don't. Okay, the only thing I'll guarantee is I will not lie to you to make you feel better. Okay, that's just the reality behind it. Now, with that in mind, okay, let's take a look at this. Yes, I dug out a file because I've got such incredible artwork. I'm absolutely appalled by it, but that's just my own personal opinion. And I should have grabbed that just in case. But we will take that one first. Grab that little piece of equipment. I'll get to it in just half a second. Whoop. Okay. I want that. I think that's the only... I don't have a whole lot of pictures drawn up. Okay, still working on that part of it. But, well, now I'm going to look at this first. Okay. When we are looking at technology, now, guys, anybody see a mark like that? Either on somebody else or on yourself. Okay. I'll get to the name in half a second, but it's this configuration. Okay. This line here may be right below it, or it might be between the two bottom circles. It won't be connecting the circles. Okay. This is a fairly common mark that I've come to understand a lot of people go through or deal with. Okay, I myself had one years ago. It was up on my left ear. Okay, up behind my left ear. And I did not get a picture of it. Okay, but I did have somebody that was somewhat versed in abnormal marks take a look and identify exactly what we were looking at as far as the appearance goes. Okay, now that's to start with. Okay, now this thing here, this mark, the reason and what this is, it is called the Dexel Spanializer. Okay, and what it does, these three points, these three circles, okay, are made by little needles being injected at 3 different levels in the body, in the person's body. Okay, one literally takes a surface scan, and this gets done simultaneously. Lazarus, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay, these get imprinted simultaneously. Okay, one goes into the top couple of layers of skin. Okay, the second one goes into the second imprint goes into the actual muscle, and the third one goes straight into the bone. But you gotta understand something about these. Okay, these needles are the inside of them is literally built on a subquantum level. This is why you'll get the mark on the outside, but you won't get the feeling in the bone. Okay, because they are pulling surface marking or surface cells, deep cells, and bone cells, all in one shot. Okay, at the same time they do that, this crossbar here is where they implant a subcellular, like a very tiny subcellular tracker. Okay, and again, it's done at the same time the other samples are being withdrawn. Not exactly acupuncture. Okay, along the same lines there, Lazarus, but we are talking acupuncture with a needle so small that you're not going to see it. As a matter of fact, human technology would be hard pressed to actually see it. Oh, excellent. Thank you for the update, Henry. Okay, I do appreciate that. Now, this neat little tracker, again, it is put in there to track all sorts of things. Depends on which planet. No, Joe, in all fairness, yes, there were giant gorillas way back. Okay. Back, quite seriously, back when the dinosaurs roamed, because of the increase in the oxygen supply and the availability of foodstuffs. Okay, many animals were a lot larger than what we've been told. Okay, now, of course, then we get the question, well, why aren't there bones of these? Well, it took centuries for people to find elephant graveyards. Okay, so the exact why can't exactly pin that down. Okay, but I have seen worlds where full size, your full size 60-foot mammals are just commonplace. Okay, so when we look at the Dexel Spanializer, it is used. The reason for the tracking device is to check literally blood pressure, your standard vitals, and your emotional impact whenever you move from one place to another. And I don't mean from the dinner table to the couch. Okay. So from that standpoint, these trackers, quite often they are done on a generation base. If you're being tracked, it's a good bet that one of your relatives, likely one of your bloodline relatives, was also tracked. Okay, well, let's not do that because that's going to cause a problem. It's a very good bet they were. But the idea is to check the migrating habits of modern humans. And let's face it, by especially by a socioeconomic standpoint, humans are essentially nomadic even today. Okay. Now I will stay on track with a lot of this technology, but we do have questions that do require answering. Kimberly's asking, can aliens put energetic trackers in your aura, not the body that can't be seen? The problem with that, the answer is technically yes, but it's not actually a tracker. What they do is they put a marker in it, and they put an energetic marker that is not actually physically there. What they do is they take a photo, if you will, of your aura and just keep an eye on where it moves to. It's more like a satellite imagery without having all the physical technology to worry about. Okay. The other thing is, because of the fact that the human aura is so easy to modify, okay, it makes it pretty much impossible to bother with. Okay, so what they do, they'll take a look at the aura and see how it's working, but they're not likely to put a tracker in it because of the complications that they run into. Even their technology does not quite go that far. Not from anything I've seen, anyway. I'm just looking now. Let's see here. Okay. Well, the funny thing is, in most cases, you're right, Lazarus. There's an old concept that goes, every thought has been thought, every dream has been dreamt. I'll tell you point blank, not entirely correct, although I cannot give you an example. So, from a Terran cognitive standpoint, or from a corporeal cognitive standpoint, I can seriously tell you, from everything we've got records on, I would have to say that it's pretty much accurate, but I'm a firm believer you do not put absolutes anywhere. Okay, well, almost anywhere. Myself, I will tell you, I won't lie to you to make you feel better, and you're just going to have to work with that. Now, and this is to those of you that are looking into DNA. Okay, whether you're an old hat at it or you're a new one, doesn't matter. The double helix is not complete. There is a triple helix, which the most advanced research universities on Earth are now looking into. But you have to realize that the triple helix is not full of junk DNA. It's full of required DNA that the mankind just hasn't been able to quantify yet. Now, let us see here. Just go down here just a little. Yeah. Kimberly's just saying, I've been to shamans. They always take out trackers out of my aura. Just wanted to confirm. Yeah. And here's the thing. I will not argue what the shamans are telling you. I will tell you this. And that is that, like I was saying, if they're putting a tracker in the aura is easy to manipulate, and therefore trackers quite often just fall out of their own accord because of the fluidity of the Terran aura. Okay. So, I mean, that's first and foremost. The second thing you got to realize, and I hate to put it this way, okay, but there are a staggering number of people that will tell you they're doing something Okay. And they've got either no proof of it, or more accurate, more commonly, they've got no continuity in what they're telling you. Now, a lot of what we deal with in the UFO world is it is stuff that doesn't have quantifiable evidence. Okay, on the whole, this does not mean it does not exist. Okay, most of it is simply put aside. Okay, now what do we got here? Oh, I never took offense to it there, Lazarus. You know, you know, the reality is, if you're not thinking, there is a bigger problem. Yeah, my life gets really weird. you know, I find it just a normal time. I am doing my best to be on somewhat of a stable pattern. By the way, just in case you're wondering, um, well, where are we here? Now, the neat part of it is when you are looking at when you're looking at controlling your own life, you've got control over your own life. This is the misconception that so many people are taught. Susie, how you doing? Glad you could join us. So many people are taught you've got zero control over your life. Okay, the aliens are controlling it. The reptilians are controlling it. The elites are controlling your life. Got news for you. I hear people going, "Oh, it's somebody else's fault. I drink like a fish." You know, which is really funny when you think about the concept, because fish don't drink, right? But that's another issue altogether. Well, and the funny thing is, most people can think for themselves to a degree, but where you run into a problem is articulation. That's where we run into snags. But first and foremost, you desire control over your own life. This is a great thing. Okay. But the way to get it is to go, I now have it. That's where you start. Okay. When you have a question, come right out and ask whoever you've got the question of. Do not take this, oh, that's the way it is. You've got to do it that way. That's not the way the reality works. Okay. The nice part about it is from everybody's standpoint. Now, when we go back to the Dexel Analyzer, okay, it is a tracking item, a tracking device. Now, I've already showed you the print it makes. This is what the funny thing looks like. And as you can see, it spins on the angle here. Okay, it spins on this angle in order to produce a corner. Now, it can stop anywhere along the line. They can adjust it on that spin anywhere they choose to. Okay, what I forgot to show here is on the bottom, right at the base here, there is a button that they use, but it is a biokinetic button. In other words, these things are keyed to whoever the scientist is that's using them. Okay, and the reason for that is to ensure that only the trained people that know what they're doing can function. Yeah, the neat part about things there, like Kimberly's just going, critical thinking is a must, especially now. The reality is it always has been a must. But we as a society have permitted each other, permitted the people that we put in control to control what we are doing and what we are thinking. As a matter of fact, we've done it so well that we've forgotten how to question, myself included. I've only just realized just exactly how much of a problem I've created. The funny thing there, I'm just looking at this. Joe has said, I watched an old Art Bell episode, Demon in the House, on YouTube. This couple lived in a house built in the 1900s. It was haunted, and they were haunted by an alien, not a ghost. I knew it wasn't fake. And that does happen depending on who the alien is. Okay, some aliens will absolutely step in on there. In all fairness, Henry, I think I missed your question. So with that in mind, if you'd be kind enough to repost it, but put it in all caps so I can actually find it. I'll keep an eye open for it here. Okay, I have no idea how people like Dave do it, and they keep so much focus on so many different areas. Okay. The neat part. Oh, okay. I saw that one go by. The most common, a lot of them are still using solar wind. Okay. They're using solar, and they're using something a little bit more clunky, if you will. But solar wind or solar wind sales is still very much a primary concern. The OTE drive, the oxidation of the tritranslocation equipolarity, is something that is far more advanced and far more efficient. Okay. Well, that was fun. So, the solar sales that you've seen depicted in many science fiction movies are actually one of the more common ways of doing it. Okay. Next to them, you have your fusion reactors. Okay. Then we turn around, go to the fission reactors. The OTE drive goes way beyond all of them because it doesn't require a replacement fuel support. So I mean, these are just some of the things that we look at. Okay, there is another neat little tool that exists. Now, by the way, the Dexos Panelizer, created by the Greys handling the hybridization program. This is their primary collection tool. Okay. Now, the Atlanteans built something called the Mercalcan Amplinet, which is a mesh that goes over top of the head, much like a hairnet, much like the original EEG connections. Politely put, Lazarus, no. And this is not that I am against doing it. It's I've got no clue how to find it or how to do what you're talking. Well, I know how to put a link in, but I have no idea where you would find the SR-71. Okay. My ability with computers is, shall we say, renowned to be a little on the lax side. Okay. Ultimately, yes, Henry. Some of them are. Some of them are even, if you will, luxury yachts. And there are people, there are off-worlders that have this thing about the better tech. Okay, they want their finer things in life as well. Okay, that's one of the things the nice part about it. Where are we here? Not sure how that works, but the Mercalcan Amplinet is something the Atlanteans used, much like if you look at some of the game systems, okay, in the role-playing game systems, there is something they call an electroencephalographic educator. This is something based on the Mercalcan Amplinet. Now, it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, spine, the really good ones have, well, you've got the amplinet has connections that fit one here, one on each temple, one on the third eye, one in the cerebral cortex. And if you get one of the most advanced versions, they've got a tail that runs all the way down to the small of the back. Okay, right down to the base of the spine. Okay, these are designed to not only clear the chakras and accelerate healing. Okay, they were actually a medical tool. Okay, designed to amplify the healing rate of the corporeal body. Now, they have them designed for whatever race they're dealing with. Humans, they've got, like I said, one on each temple, one in the center of the forehead, one at the cerebral cortex, and then one that is on a tail that connects right to the base of the spine. I will give you that, Kimberly. If that question is the issue of oh, okay, that will solve that problem, Lazarus. And I don't have a problem with it. If I run into problems with people, I have figured out how to deal with that. So we will do this. Okay. And pop you in there. There you go. That should solve the problem. Give it a minute to kick in there. If you'd be kind enough to find that link, because I'll tell you, my finding anything is absolutely a shock at the best of times. When we're looking at technology, we got to understand something. Mankind is a dinosaur in technological fields. Okay. When you look at the way that computers are operated, okay, we handle computer input is done in two ways. Either with a standard keyboard, which might give you an idea. You'll see that I've got cable there. It might give you an idea of how much of a dinosaur I really am. Touchscreens I don't work with because I set the poor things off by looking at them. Okay, but when you're looking at the off-world, okay, computers, number one, they are biomagnetic holographic interface, aka take a look at the computers in many of the really advanced sci-fi movies, where you see them moving stuff around in apparently the air. What they're doing is handling the entire screen suspended on a molecular field in the atmosphere. Okay, that's the reality behind that. Okay. Now, from my standpoint, it boils down to this. Technology is a great thing. You've got the triphasic dextral spanalizer, the McCocken amplinet, the oscillodensification of tritransformational equilarity, which is your OTE drive. That is the most advanced, state-of-the-art drive that they've got. And the neat part about it was it was started. Okay. Thank you very much, Sir Lazarus. I appreciate that. It was originally started, okay, by the Atlantean peoples, which, by the way, the Atlantis itself did not actually fall into the ocean. Okay. It had many satellite communities, but the base of it, its hub, was a starship. Okay. It just had a little bit of a glitch. Negative, Lazarus. We are actually not. Okay. There are some people here that remember Atlantis, but Earth itself is not Atlantis. Okay. The Atlanteans were another race from the other side of the Pleiadian star system. Okay, but were they here for a while? Absolutely. Okay, thing is, if you go to the Bimini Islands, if you go to the wreckage you see in the Bimini Islands, compare the fall lines of the structures they found there to the fall lines on a shuttle. Okay, that's just that's what I look at to start with. That and the fact I was on the ship when it took off, or more to the point, in a sense, I was on the city. Atlantis itself was is a generational city. Okay, or generational ship, if you will. Okay, but here's the thing. Where is it? I don't know offhand, so I'm not going to go get it. Don't want that. See, if you take a look at and just picture this as the Atlantean city, okay, the hub of the Atlantean Empire. Okay, it's sitting here. This whole part here is what boils down to, or what would become, a dome. Okay, we'll start with that. Okay, when Atlantis left, there was a problem in the basement, in the engine room. Okay, and there was sabotage that took place. And what ended up happening is it tilted and blew it. So it ended up lifting the side of the city and then launching the city into orbit. Now, understand there was no compensatory technology at the time. So anybody walking across the walkways was dropped on their head. And I'll tell you, drop somebody on their head, even Atlanteans, from 200 stories in the air, and you're like, we're talking mile-high spires. Okay, you tilt that, and those people are not going to survive the landing. Okay, their landing, but the ship itself ended up in orbit. Okay. Now, in answer to there's two things about the pyramids there. Number one, okay, from everything I've found out, the Orions didn't actually build the pyramids. Okay, but I suspect whoever did, and I'm not entirely certain just yet who was actually responsible for their construction. But there is a very simple reason why they all point to the same place. See, that is fantastic, Lazarus. That is absolutely fantastic. Okay, Lazarus, I mean, from my standpoint, excellent, more power to you. Okay, I will tell you, it changes the way your life works. But something to look at with the pyramids. Everybody has studied the hieroglyphs, or, well, not everybody, but a lot of scientists have looked at the hieroglyphs and figured out how to read the words. What they haven't pieced together yet is the lines in the writings, in the hieroglyphs themselves, are a computer program. Okay, and it is a computer program built on a subquantum level. Okay, so all the pyramids are pointed to that same point because that's where the relay system is. Okay, the nice part about it, okay, is when we take a look at the actual lines at the actual coding in the hieroglyphs themselves. Don't look at the hieroglyphs as just the words. Look at the patterns between the symbols, okay, and within the symbols themselves. That is how we end up with an interesting setup. It's also why the relays work so well. Okay, and yes, once people understand that they're in, because if you can sense energy yourself, and I do encourage those that are actually directly working with hieroglyphs, even if you've been working with them for centuries, okay, and the odds of a human actually doing that are pretty limited. Okay, even if you've been working for it for years, take a look at the energy patterns in the whole hieroglyphic sheet. When you take a look at a wall and you go, here's what all of this says, okay, then we have an interesting situation. Now, I cannot show you the way that this works that this actually works. But if you take a look at the panels, okay, quite often you will find there is an overlay. Okay. Now I'm gonna find myself a blank sheet here. Yep, that's it. Gravity works. This is a good thing. Okay, what do we got? Whoops. That's all stuff I gotta go through. So that's okay. We use that. Just grab myself a felt here. Now, this is going to be excessively rudimentary, okay? But the triphasic coding that they use, okay, is an overlay, but they've got a computer that will translate it. So I'll show you basically how it works, okay? And again, you're going to have to work with your imagination on this, but I'll do what I can. Okay, phase 1. We take a look, and there is just a simple line. Okay. Phase 2. There's a second line. Okay. Phase 3. There is a third line. Now, if you take a look at this, these show up, and when you're looking at hieroglyphs, okay, these show up. You'll have one panel that does the first line, one panel that does the second, and a third panel that does the third line. But when their computer gets a hold of that, okay, then you end up with this. Okay, combine the three parts and away you go. This is the basis of triphasic writing. Okay, it's also the basis for triphasic and for using a triphasic crystalline computer. Okay, and yes, crystalline computers work far better than electronic ones do. Yeah, what do we got here? Nathan, how you doing? Didn't see you come in. Glad you could join us, though. I trust work is not too terribly out of hand. Okay, what do we got here? The nice part about it, the thing is, and this is directly to you, Lazarus, and for that matter, for anybody that has a similar situation. Okay. Well, before I go there, Nathan, make absolutely certain, I'm glad you're listening in, but remember, pay attention to the road more than you do the radio. Although it is entertaining on occasion not to, but I wouldn't recommend that. Now, from that standpoint, okay, Lazarus, you're making a massive shift in your life. And I will tell you, I can tell you this from practical experience. Okay, It has the potential of changing your future completely. But no matter how difficult it may be, no matter how difficult it may be, you do have the capacity to make it happen. And I'm just going to, we'll try English here. World is just saying we found groups of standing structures, Sasquatch live in a weird shaped configuration. Well, contrary to popular belief, Sasquatch are not animal intelligence. They are very intellectually evolved. They just happen to be huge. Okay. Frankly, they have to be rather gentle at the same time. You know, I get a kick out of this. You know, Lazarus has just said we need subtitles to reach the world. I would love to, but again, I'm running into this neat little problem. Okay, I mean, we are sitting right now. Yeah, we lost a couple of people a little while ago. We are back up at 479. You know, and I know we will climb. It's just taking one step at a time. What do we got here? Yeah, oh, I see what you're referring to. Yeah, and I have no idea where I would even find somebody to do that. And of course, finding anybody that can track the way my brain works is going to be a challenge. You know, I've had some of the best psychiatrists in the area look at the way my brain works and go, ain't got a clue. Of course, sad to say, I've seen a lot of them do that with a lot of people. That does seem to be a shockwave, yes. And of course, next time I appear on that was, by the way, in response to you, Henry. When I take a look at the calendar here, yeah, my next time on is we are on the 18th right now, so it'll actually be the 7th of April when I get back to SOR. Okay, hopefully we are ahead of it by then, but that's okay. If we ever come across that world, we'll be certain to do so. You know, the nice little part about the way that technology works, and we have to realize humans see technology as a mechanical combination, mechanical and electrical construct. The off-worlders don't. And the ancient races are even worse in one sense. Okay. You know, the nice part when we take a look at, and now in essence, now I've talked about the dexospanalizer and very briefly about the Mercalcan Aquanet. Okay. There are a couple of other pieces of technology that I've got sitting in that stack of paperwork that I showed you the other day. Okay, but and by the way, the information on and of course the hieroglyphs. This information is being added to this funny little book. Okay, I actually have expanded on the technological fields in it. I'm still dealing with primarily the races, but some of the technology is kind of necessary. Okay, now what do we got here? Now, when we take a look at the OT drive, okay, I explained this a little bit the other day. The thing you got to remember with the OT drive is the thing does not have any moving parts. Okay, it is completely controlled by electrical impulse, by bioelectric impulse. Okay. And that is one of the key factors. Now, it can be done. The fission reactor can be used as an amplifier for it. Okay. Or for that matter, the closest they've got to the OT drive on Earth that I'm aware of is the atom smasher. What do we got here? Oh, not to worry about that. Okay, Lazarus, the one thing that I keep telling people, okay, is there's a lot of cross communication in this chat room. Okay, and this is not a bad thing in my eyes, because what I notice is that you guys are actually doing your best to help each other, and that is what this is all literally about. Okay, now the one thing you have to realize is that when we are looking at the way that this world is running, so many of us have been taught that unless you can absolutely prove it, it's not happening. The idea, seeing is believing. Well, I will tell you, I came across a neat little concept a while ago. YJ, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Okay. I came to the conclusion a long time ago that believing is actually seeing. In other words, once you can accept the fact it's possible, then you can start seeing the side effects of it, if you will. Now there are some things that we've got to be aware of. People have a tendency of tossing a label into things, and it's a way of coping. It's a way of making the absolutely bizarre seem a little more comprehensible. Okay, but I do caution you, before you start adding labels and what have you to what you've gone through, if you've already done it, this is great, but be sure that you talk to a few people that have gone through similar things in order to come up with a functional consensus. Okay, a prime example of this is I see way too many people that claim to have PTSD. Now, I've seen people with PTSD, and it does not fit what most people claiming to have it are dealing with. The first time I ran into somebody with PTSD, I was only 9, maybe 10 years old, I think. And I was going through a store. Somebody on the other side of the shelf dropped a bottle of pickles. Okay, a glass bottle. Well, the thing went bang, but the airman that had just come back from the war ended up trying to crawl under the counter and just could not think. He was completely overridden. Okay. Well, that's just it, Kimberly. I'm not debating anybody's diagnosis. Okay. It's a question of make certain that it fits. Not that you just simply take the diagnosis. I mean, I've never been diagnosed with PTSD. Okay. But do I know I've got it? Yeah, pretty much. Okay. And I mean, there are all kinds of things. The one thing you got to remember, and it doesn't matter what you're dealing with, okay, pretty much everything I've seen can be overridden. Okay. Did we just have somebody show up here? Yeah, see, the neat part there, I do agree with you to a degree there, YJ. Okay. If you find something to distract yourself when striving to drop a habit, it works out quite nicely. Okay. However, it's not a requirement. What is a requirement is to get your brain to go, no, I'm not going down that road anymore. I will tell you there is another benefit to working out. If you're working out properly, not only does it take up your time so you don't desire to drink anymore, but you actually end up healthier. I get a kick out of it. Some people tell you thinking about doing something is as good as doing it, which I find really fascinating because, I keep thinking that I'm going to look like, I'm going to have the muscle build of Lou Ferrigno or Arnold Schwarzenegger. Turns out just thinking about it doesn't work that well. Okay, Raven, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And there's the Mac Geek. Missed you coming in there. That somehow doesn't surprise me there, Mac. Well, the thing is, when you think about it, world, and this is something that people overlook, it's one thing to believe something is real. It is another to come face to face with it. Okay. And that's where it gets to be really complicated. Are we really, holy mackerel, yeah. Not a problem there, Raven. The fact you managed to get here is the important factor. It was funny because when I went to my first shrink, it was a shrink that looked at me, right? Where are we here? The first one that looked at me, the second or third time that I went to see him, we come out of the session, he looks at me and goes, "We have a problem." I looked at him and I went, "What do you mean a problem? And what's this we thing?" He looks at me and he goes, "Keith, you have been taken." I said, "You want to run that by me just one more time?" Right. So he turns around and we discuss the whole thing. And he laid out, there was a long conversation. Bear in mind, it was supposed to be an hour session when I was talking to him, turned into a 2+. See, the one thing that you got to remember here, when we're looking at coping mechanisms, and this is something that I've got to get into, where am I looking here? Not right here. Give me half a second. I'm not leaving the room, by the way. But I am going to go over here. And we are looking here. Today is the 18th. Just marking down, quite literally, I am now booking, and I'll put a list on this. I will make a post for this. Okay, for the next week, so that we can get a handle on what shows are and what the topic is going to focus on when we are dealing with alien technology. Understand, this is the other side of this. Okay. Yes, aliens have influenced modern tech. They have not turned it over. Okay. Mankind is extremely good at reverse engineering and figuring out things on their own. So they watch what's going on and they sort it out themselves. The thing that the off-worlders are they're never mind not permitted to do, they're flat out forbidden to do, is turn over weaponry, turn over weapons, and turn over defense systems. Okay, those are not permitted. Military transference is not permitted from the consortium to Earth. Okay, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Okay, you think about it. Mankind has a tendency of pushing buttons until it figures out what's happening. Where are we here? YJ's going, well, must have been something up there a little bit above. Go back up. Yeah. YJ goes, I've got my kids into learning about micro investments. I help them see their strengths and then make small investments into those attributes. Like one kid is an artist, so I encourage art programs. Okay. And I match their investments dollar to dollar. So when it's time for an iPad or something, I kick in half, except for the tuition. I cover 100%. You know, that is an excellent idea there, YJ. The reality of it is if more parents actually did things like that, if they are capable, it would be great. What I find happen, and this is where society runs into a problem, I could get really sidetracked on this. So I'm just going to stick on the idea of we have a staggering amount of potential in the people on this planet. Yes, the people that are in leadership positions right now are doing a bang-up botch job in many cases. Okay. However, the system itself, or more to the point, the systems themselves are actually in pretty decent shape. You know, Lazarus, if you think about it, go back to the 50s. Okay. Lazarus is just going, not everyone likes my music. Go back to the 50s and look what happened with Elvis Presley. There was an uproar when he hit the stage. And look what he did. The same thing happened with the Beatles. Okay, there was an uproar with them, with people, because they didn't like the music. Okay, this does not mean stop producing it. Okay, that's just the reality behind it. To be honest with you, Joe, I definitely agree with you. If you've got severe PTSD or other complications, it's not quite in my. I do agree. You've got to inform that person, the potential partner, about the extent of what you're doing, and don't sugarcoat it, because sugarcoating it will lead to a problem. Okay. You know, the fact of the matter is, if you are straightforward with your partner about your hiccups, about what you know about them, you can absolutely make it work. Okay. You know, that's the reality behind that. Yeah, it was, you know, that's just it. Like, I never personally saw Elvis live, but I will tell you, you know, it was pointed out to me the other day. Somebody literally told me that, you know, I know you're not crazy, but the way you talk makes you sound crazy. Not a bad idea there, Lazarus. You know, love songs are quite a nice little sidetrack. So much better than, you know, I was cheated on, so I shot my wife, I kicked the dog, and the cops got run over by my runaway truck. I mean, songs that are depicting that kind of thing, I look at and go, why? Okay, mind you, I do the same thing with many of the stories I look at. You know, see, the whole catch here, and this is one of the oh, by the way, one of the topics I just finished putting on that I just put on for the 24th is to talk about how to cope with your unresolved UFO or alien encounters, whether they are just of you, just an eyewitness, or an actual contact abduction, call it what you will. Okay. I cannot believe, well, yeah, I can. The support that I see in this chat room is incredible. Okay. And with that in mind, guys, if you'd be kind enough to spread the word that this is what is happening, this chat room is evolving into a phenomenal interactive. Okay. You know, one of the nice little things here, you know, one of the nice things that I'm looking at when we look at technology. Now, the other thing I've seen, and I should have actually put the information together, but one of the things that many of these off-worlders use in the way of technology is quite literally music, because music is a measurable, easily transferable linguistic tool. And if you think about it, the vocal cords are a musical instrument. You can learn to work with them. I agree with you there, YJ. See, here's the thing. People took a look at the internet and things have gone way too logical. You know, you look at the internet and you go, okay, let's go on a dating site. Here's all the parts about me. Now, there I am in black and white. Relationships are not digitally quantifiable, not in today's world. Okay, all that gives you is a surface picture. Okay, it's much like when you go to a doctor and they do a diagnosis on you. They look most of the time at the physical and totally disregard the rest of it. But the reality is it is a combination. You know, the nice part about it is when you take a look at the technology the off-worlders use, they use mechanical, they use electrical, but they also use biomagnetic flux. Okay, meaning they use the energy of the living organism to power a lot of the equipment, especially when you look at the Corlocks. Okay, 99% of their equipment is powered by biomagnetics. Okay, if you take a look, go back to Space Odyssey 2001. That ship they showed, that is a Corlock ship. Okay, and it is literally powered by their own energy. Okay, they slide in between the panels. Okay, they slide in between the panels, and then their electronics, you know, turn around and generate the force field to contain their atmospheric field. Okay, this is why you will never see a human on a Corlock ship. By the way, you'll also never see a human hybrid with a Corlock. It's kind of like trying to get a human to be a hybrid with a Gaboran. Just not going to happen. How you doing there, football? Glad you could join us. Yeah, and that's the thing, Joe. Some people will reach a point in their life where they go, no, I'm just never getting married. But it's funny. I run into so many people, or I used to run into so many people that would go, that's never going to go the road I'm going down. And I kid you not. They can't. What kept happening was somebody say, that's never going to happen for me. I'm never going to get married. Okay. And then all of a sudden you turn around and have an interesting little side effect. Carl, how you doing? Glad you could join. You know, glad you could join us. There are a lot of people that marriage is just not a functional option for. For me, I've been married once, got divorced. I am planning on a second marriage. Now understand, I'm 59. This doesn't mean it'll definitely happen, but it is what I'm aiming towards. Because when people go, I'm never going, like in your case, Lazarus, I'll never marry, that is a choice. You absolutely have it. There's no problem there. Okay. The thing I caution people about is at this point, that may well be, well, there's no doubt that's what you're looking at. But in 10 years' time, that may shift on you. There's a lot of people against marriage because of what ends up happening. It's like, you hear about the horror stories. You don't hear many about like what I grew up with. Okay, my parents, they met in March. In March of 56. They were married in August of 56. And they spent 60 years under one roof together. I do not ever recall them having a fight. Okay, now my memory may be a shambles, but you don't hear much of that. Well, that's just, I get a kick out of adult football. So many people don't have children. I'm curious what's going to happen to him and what would happen. Well, it's pretty obvious. If all of a sudden everybody went, we're not having any more kids, this world would soon run into a population decrease. Yeah, well, that's the thing, YJ. There are coping mechanisms. It's very much like some of the technology. I ran into a problem years ago because I run into a problem with the talons to start with. They're the ones that snapped my arm just because they wanted to know how. Wanted to know how much it would take. Okay. But I had another run in with them after I was working with a group of people. Never did get along with them. Still don't really, but what the heck. And that is one of the things I like about this chat room, Lazarus. Lazarus has just said, you guys are my coping mechanisms. The nice part about it is I see this throughout everybody here. Okay, well, pretty much. I've seen in the time I've been doing this, we've had one person come in here that was absolutely a pain in the neck. The rest, I haven't seen a big problem with. And personally, I'd like to keep it that way. But, I look at it going, we've got this wonderful world here where 95% of the population are really good people. They really do desire the best for the world. But it's at 10-15%, or that 15-20% that's left over that can cause a problem. But that only happens if we permit it. Yeah, I used to, when we take a look at it, I look at the technology that's coming out. I got sent a picture. Where is it? Oh, I know where it is because I added it to the book. Let me just call it up here. Not that one. What? Don't do that to me. That one. Okay, here's a comment. Where are we here? Oh, yes. Forgot to talk to, and I don't have a picture of this, but the graveler beam, okay, is an interesting little item. It's literally, it works with the ground with what humans call gravitons. Okay, it is literally a weapon that they utilize. It is a tool, but it can be used as a weapon. much like a hammer is a tool but can be used as a weapon. The gravitar beam literally alters the gravitational field around a given object. Now, when you take it to its ultimate level, it can be used to modify the gravitational field around molecules, meaning what you've got is a gravity-based biodisintegrator or biodissociation device. It will literally tear up the thing apart, molecule by molecule, by simply modifying the gravitational fields of the molecules that are connecting things. We've got these are things that are being added to the Races of the Worlds, the second printing of it. That's the Marcocan Amplinet. The triphasic transmographer is what you would consider a transspatial teleporter. It is designed to literally pick up, and this is being, by the way, built in multiple parts in different parts of the world. Somebody sent me a picture of it going, I don't even know what this thing is I'm trying to build. But he says, I can't get a reading on a reading off the thing at all, an energy reading off it. I looked at it, and he says, do you have any idea what it is? I says, yeah, I know exactly what it is. And it's no wonder you can't get an electrical reading off it. The thing works on magnetics. Well, technically football, and the answer is yes. Okay, they can. I mean, they've got all sorts of things that they can slice it off you with. But I will tell you, you desire to drop weight. And I know the modern medicine and modern doctors will tell you got to get a pill. No, you don't. And I am not a medical doctor. In my opinion, primarily because of practical experience, you don't have to use a pill. You watch what you're eating. Do take a look and do your research. Okay, because I'm not a nutritionist. I've always held the idea that if it ain't moving, it's probably edible, which is a bad way to look at it. Especially when you think I was told, don't put anything in your mouth if you can't pronounce it. Created a problem for me. The answer to your question there, Raven, I have to send in either those things. It should be out within the month. Okay, because the reason I say that is I'm not sure right off the top of my head if I've got 5 pictures left to do or 10, but 5 will be sent in today. They'll be sent in tonight to my artist. Once I get those completed, then it goes to print. Okay, I'm just waiting for them. I've been editing the rest of it. Okay, to make certain it all comes out. And this again is one of those things. Last year was just an absolute shambles for me. But this is one of those books. The nice part about it, I'm not adding new races to the second printing. I am adding extra information. But there will be a second volume come out afterwards. Where are we here? Now we were looking at that. Oh, yes. Oh, yes, I have to look into that. I've got to look into the construction of this one. There's something called the biomagnetic spirorial triphasic interface. That is a part of the triphasic transmographer. Okay. It literally is the activation unit. These are some of the tools that are being added into the book. Okay. So let us shrink that down for half a moment here. Yeah, well, that's just it, Lazarus. If you occupy yourself, I found this worked out really well. One of the things, by the way, Raven, that I will tell you, it was a shock from my end, but take a look at your electrolyte balance. Okay. take a look at your electrolyte balance. It may be having an absolutely adverse effect on your weight. Okay, it was something I stumbled across quite by accident. Doctors certainly weren't telling me. Well, I will tell you, Joe, the best tools in existence are absolutely useless if you don't use them. Okay, I tried the Harmony system. I tried which ones did I try? Tried eHarmony. I did make a run at Match. You know, see the nice part about everything in your life. If you are not content, okay, start documenting what you're going through. Okay, when I look at the technology that's available, and some of it comes to me while I'm doing the weirdest things. You know, I might be sitting there washing dishes, and all of a sudden I get this image. It's like, okay, jot that down. You know, or somebody will drop an idea in my lap. But as far as major weight loss goes, the old method still works. If you burn more energy than what you put, if you burn more calories than what you put into your system, you will drop weight. But it does require. That's not entirely a bad idea. But something to keep in mind, Lazarus. Absolutely right about about what you are, why you're tired, or how you're feeling, but also right about the things that you do that end up making you feel more energetic. Okay, it's because it's the things you're doing that you write down about what you're doing to feel more energetic that will have the biggest impact in driving your energy levels up. But I will tell you, one of the things that I found works really well for driving energy levels up is literally high-paced dance music. You find the fastest dance music you can find that you like, crank it as high as socially acceptable, and let it run in the background. Okay, this will help immensely in bringing your energy levels up. Okay. The nice part, like last week when I had to miss so many days because of family issue, I was looking at it going, this isn't working for me. I've got to get back out here, which is what put me on the air at a really bizarre time a few days ago. Because I just looked at it and went, no, I'm going live now. Because I've got to get back into the saddle. Okay. So I'm going to be looking at one of the things I'm going to be looking at here. The nice little part about all of this, okay, is when we are looking at the world on the whole, literally the support I see in this room is what I would like to see globally. Okay, I cannot, it's hard for me to fathom how so many millions of people will sit down and listen to people telling them, oh, the world's going to end and you're going to burn in hell for the rest of eternity. It is amazing how many billions of people will sit there and listen to that. Okay, I keep joking about it. I've been dead 4 times clinically, as in doctors restarted my heart, before I was 10, 5 times confirmed by other people, five more times confirmed by other people, and a 6th one that seems to be a little in variation here. So I just joke about it going, God doesn't want me and Satan's afraid I'll take over. I just don't have the time to worry about it. Yeah, you notice that, Henry? I mean, I witnessed years and years ago, and apparently it's still up for grabs. Somebody came, somebody came up with this world map, with the map after the decimation of the planet, right? And they came up with this map that pinpointed New Mexico as, I mean, it was because of an asteroid impact. Okay. It was supposed to be an asteroid impact that was supposed to hit decades ago. Actually, I think it was supposed to hit in 2000, right? But they came out and they said, look, world's going to get hit by this asteroid. It's going to cause decimation all over the place. But New Mexico is going to be one of the few places that's left where crime rate will be real low, and the neighbors will get along fine. Here's the kicker to it. Now, they sold it they literally sold these packages by the millions. But here's the kicker. The impact point of the asteroid was supposed to be New Mexico. Now, I'm not entirely certain, but you drop an asteroid into the middle of a state, it's going to be a quiet neighborhood. There will be no crime. The neighbors will all get along fine. But why, pray tell, buy that kind of an item? And yet people do it. Okay. Oh, nice. Yeah, I've started doing a written journal myself again. Like I didn't have enough to write. But when I take a look at this, one of the things I do have a note for here is to deal with the actual computer, with the circuit board of the hieroglyphs. Okay. Now, I'm hoping to be able to talk to somebody and find out what this whole process was. But it literally boils down to, there are a couple of ways of looking at it. Okay. Some of the writing, what they do is they take two panels that seem to read together quite nicely. But if you take the two panels and you lock them together, okay, now you've got the completed circuits. Now, I'm no graphic designer. Okay, I mean, heck, I'm lucky if I get my computer to work properly. And you've seen that happen. Okay, but these are technological maneuverings that off-worlders use on a regular basis. This is why they are so much further ahead. Okay. One of the things that we have to look at is much of the technology we've got that mankind says, oh, you can't use that. I'm going to copyright this so nobody can use it. The funny part about it, if you will, and it's kind of a sad funny, is much of the off-world technology, they don't patent it. They simply put it together and go, here it is. You can buy this through me. Absolutely, they've got their marketing. Okay, but there is no rule out there, at least not in a consortium, that says one person has an idea and has a lock on it. It is extremely counterproductive, and it is very greed-based. And the one thing you will find about the people in the consortium, greed is not their strong suit. It's also not their weak one. Okay, this does not mean they don't like their luxuries. Okay, when you take a look at the matter relocator, okay, let's just find out what the heck that was again. My mind works like an absolute sieve times. Oh, yes. Yeah, the triphasic transmographer, which really boils down to a way of moving matter from one end of the world, or from one end of known space to the other. Technically, you could go beyond known space. Problem is, it creates a big complication. Well, absolutely they can get it. But here's the kicker to it. They collect it up and use it and utilize it for what it was intended. Okay. I believe you're talking, though, football, about can they contract it? And the answer to that is, in rare occasions, it's technically possible, but it happens to be a Terran problem. Okay. Mankind set about with it. Well, more to the point, mankind tried weaponizing what was already there. Okay. Can off-worlders get human diseases? Yes. That said, humans can get off-world diseases as well, depending on the race that you're dealing with. Like, for instance, a human will never get a human will never contract an illness that a Caboran has. It just won't happen. Humans aren't built genetically the same way. Now humans and Mobians can interchange diseases all they like, and all the beneficial sides as well. Let's just see what there was. Heck, welcome aboard there, Carlos. Aliens can cure human mental illness. Problem is, they are not permitted. Humans can cure human mental illness, but they won't. And I do mean that literally. Okay. Well, I won't argue with his outlook, but, from my standpoint, it boils down to this. When you're looking at patenting an idea, okay, you are looking to protect yourself financially or materially. Okay. And this is because modern society has built a situation that actually promotes complications. Mr. L, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality of it is that we have to, as a society, we've got to start looking at things and going, okay, what are we doing that is creating discordance, is creating a disharmony in our world? What are you doing that is creating a problem? I mean, you think about it. Now, I've stuck my foot in my mouth way more often than I care to count, and happily have never been banned for it. Okay, oddly enough, I've never been fired for opening my mouth. But here's the thing with mental illness. Anytime you have any dis-ease, okay, in other words, you're out of sync with something is not bringing you a feeling of contentment, this can be corrected by you. Okay. If you've got a major, what you consider a major drinking complication, you're the one that can stop it. You're the only one that can start it. You're the only one that can stop it. Well, not entirely true. My older brother, he told me flat out the only reason he quit drinking and drugs was because he couldn't convince any of the nurses to go off hospital site and go and get him some for him to stay drunk and stay high. Bizarre thing. Nurses working in the health field don't actually want that to happen. In all fairness, Susie, I really don't know. I haven't watched the news in probably 15 years. Okay. It wouldn't be a surprise from my end. Okay. But understand something very important about these studies. Now, I don't know the first thing about psilocybin, so I'm a little bit out of the loop on that one. Okay. But I will tell you, I saw a study one day, quite by accident. Scientists from around the world, a global study, just after 3 years, discovered that the majority of shark attacks happen in shallow water. Now, they made this out to be a phenomenal revelation. I'm looking at it, the second they said that, I went, well, of course they all happen in shallow water. Okay, if you think about it, Where do you find humans where it comes to the water? Out in the deep sea, or the majority of them on the shore? Wherever the majority of your people are, that's where the attack's going to be. I absolutely agree with you there, YJ. Half the reason that I became reclusive is I couldn't figure out how to cope with it, to be honest. I watched way too many people doing way too many horrendous things to each other and calling it, and saying, I'm doing it for your own good. No, you're not. Not in most cases. Okay. But we have an opportunity right here, right now. And I'm seeing it happen in this chat room. Okay. I absolutely am. Where people are reaching out to each other and going, how can we help balance this out? How can we help the individual? This is what I personally desire to see happen globally. Now, if you talked to me a year ago, I'd been telling you, I'm really seriously considering closing the door because I'm not seeing a functional change. But here in this chat room, I'm seeing a massive change. Okay. This is one of those things that is finally happening. And all the technology in the world, and this is the thing people don't get, the functional difference between off-worlders and humans and Terrans is the complexity of their toys. Okay. See, once you start, when we take a look, like I'm looking at this microdosing thing, and here's the bold reality of it from what I've seen. You get your own brain doing the same thing and telling itself over and over again, I am able to do this. You will reprogram your brain and all the necessities that you're dealing with. If you're on medication, and let me be very clear about this. If you are currently on some sort of medication to help you cope with something, stay on it. But start telling yourself that you are healed, that you are healed. But stay on the medication because you can create all kinds of havoc if you don't. As you change your mindset, your body will modify. And the doctors will have no functional option but to go, okay, this medication isn't working anymore. But you got to remember, if you're not content with something, you're the one that's going to have to speak up about it. The nice part about it is this is something that with the support of each other, we can land on our feet. We can turn this world around. The side effect, I've got an easy out. You give me another 20 years, I may well be dead again. Okay. I'm not going to be here forever. Although I am already planning, quite literally, my next life. Okay. I have every intention of coming back here in better shape. Okay. But it's up to you to take a look at where your world is. No matter what technology you've got. Let me ask you this. What is the difference when you think about it between a 1924 Model T Ford and a 1924 Model T Ford and a 2024, whatever they come up with as the newest Ford creation? What is the fundamental difference? Because frankly, from my experience, they still have about 16 square inches of rubber on the ground that you have to worry about. And that's it. Other than that, everything else are bells and whistles. Okay. And yeah, absolutely there, YJ. I came to the conclusion, and this is what I am working towards getting people to realize. However you got to where you are, you're right here, right now. Every one of you is in the exact same boat. Okay, you cannot alter the past. You can guide the future, but all change has to take place right here, right now. Even if you postpone it for however long, when you do it, you're in the here and now. You know. So I mean, I'm looking at this. I'm looking at this, and I mean, the amount of support I see amongst you guys is just phenomenal. Okay. So now we have to start moving to make things happen. Okay. And when we take, people were worried about who's tracking who. Well, I will tell you this. Every major government in existence, even all the minor ones, are doing their best to track people in whatever fashion they desire, okay, to find out what everybody's up to. Now, the silly part about it is a lot of this tracking is based on the idea. I just heard a knock knock. Hold that thought for half a second. I love when I hear knocking like that. Okay, most people track what's going on. Oh, got to go up here. The answer to that question, I actually had that conversation just a little while ago, and you can do with that what you will there, Carlos. Okay. By the way, Kimberly, thank you so much for bringing that part to my attention. This is why I say, if you've got a question, please put the thing in caps. It's easier for me to find. Okay, but the question that Carlos asked is, if humanity doesn't get their act together soon, will God say he made a mistake creating it and then blast us into nothingness? The answer is a categorical no. He created mankind with literally unlimited potential, gave you free will, gave you freedom of choice. That was an absolute decision. And he left it that way. Whether you succeed with this society or not will not change what he was building. Okay. He set things in motion in a very intricate fashion, enabling you to go out and figure out who you are. Failing is part of that learning process. The trick is making certain if you do something that didn't work, take responsibility for it and correct it yourself. This world on its current path is in for some very trying times, but you still have the ability to turn it around. Mankind can still turn it around and know, number one, the human race and the whole world is not being shifted into another dimension. Okay, it's not going to happen that way, and you can take that where you will. God, no God, no gods, no aliens. Nobody's coming down here to pick up a select few. Okay, and go, okay, we're going to wipe everybody else out. It's not going to happen. Okay, those of you that are waiting for this to happen so the world can get started, bad news, you're waiting for something that's not on its way. God is not coming down here to say, oh, bad kid, I gave you free choice. You didn't do what I told you. Okay, that is not the way this was set in motion. Okay, we have the capacity to turn this world around, to reclaim power over our own lives and make this a better world. But it's up to you as individuals, same as it's up to me. If I desire my life to be better, it's up to me to pick up to step up to the plate and go, I've got to change it. Now, this may require assistance, absolutely. And to that end, okay, and I'm sure we're going to get to this point sooner or later, that we're going to go down that rabbit hole of how do we take control of the world back so that we can actually shift it from where everything seems to be pointing. Okay. Now, is there a battle plan to do this? The answer is yes. Okay. Quite frankly, I've seen a lot of it. However, I'm one individual, and the reality is that the world will not change on one person's direction. It's going to take a lot more. Now, if you think back 2,000 years ago, there were some mistakes made, okay, on the way it was set about and how it was set and let loose to run. But the idea was sound, okay. And then mankind decided, hey, I think greed's a great idea. I think debauchery, where I can make everybody feel miserable, is fantastic because I feel better comparatively. This is backwards thinking. Karmic law is very simple. It applies to everybody. Energy out, energy in. Whatever you put your effort into, that's what you're building towards. Okay, that's just the reality of it. So is God going to come down and put his thumb on society and go, no, you're just bad people. I screwed up. The reality is God didn't make a mistake. Okay, he gave you the ability. The question is, are you going to take advantage of that ability? At this point, you wouldn't be looking at the reason they won't is because you guys are on the verge of doing it yourselves. Okay. You got to remember, when Sodom and Gomorrah were wiped out, they wiped out the biggest, essentially the biggest states available. Okay. They were cities at the time. In order to have the same impact, you would have to take China and China and the US. And I don't mean a part of. I mean take a look at the population of these two countries. Okay, you take the biggest population averaged with the biggest land area, and that's what they would have to wipe out. Not a single city, but an entire society. Okay. And no, are they likely to do that at this point? No, they've been told that's a bad idea. And besides that, like I said, I guess it'd be about a year ago now, I ended up having a very, very succinct conversation with literally what you would consider a god. Okay. And he was pretty, I'll use the term he loosely. It's just easier than going he, she, it, they, them, whatever. Okay, so I just go with one. Okay. The answer there, Kimberly, is no. This is a planet that was designed for people to literally come, for entities to come and experience corporeal life with limited senses. That was its purpose. If you want to call that an experiment, you can call it that, but it was literally a life experience choice. The spirits that came here, as in you yourself, before you took on a corporeal form, decided this was something you were going to experience. Okay. Now, it clearly was not a human decision. This was done way beyond human ken. Okay. But no, we are not living in a petri dish. Okay. Which is something, again, this is an issue of taking it to extremes and going, it's somebody else's fault that we're a mess. The fault is laid squarely on the shoulders of the individuals involved. It's just that simple. I'm no different than you are. I've made some absolutely stupid maneuvers. Okay. And I can plead ignorance. Absolutely, I can. I can point the finger at all sorts of other people. I just came to the conclusion there's not much point to it. Okay. But no, life is not in a petri dish. We are not a holographic experiment. The Matrix is a wonderful movie. Okay. Raven goes, I was bribed. I can relate to that on occasion. I like the way that is. you know, but I love the concept there, Raven. Like when I got here, I was told I signed the contract. My immediate response when I ran into the Council of 12 and they went, "You have to go back because you signed the contract." I looked at them and I said, "I didn't sign up for this abuse." As it turns out, they sent me back anyway. Apparently, when I set things in motion, it wasn't so much a contract with somebody else, it was a contract with me. Okay, same as you guys. So the reality is, and by the way, just for those of you that are wondering, and I should do this before I run out of time, which technically I could go on, but I'm just not silly enough to do that. Where are we here? Tomorrow is going to be an open forum. That's on Monday. On Tuesday, we will be dealing with 0 point energy. On Monday, 0 point energy. On Tuesday, we'll be dealing with elementals. Okay. And then on Wednesday, and this is where it gets complicated. Okay. On Wednesday from 4:30 to 6:30. I'm sorry, Raven, but why would you put chocolate on a pizza? I mean, I don't like chocolate to start with, Oh, my apologies. You've gone pizza and chocolate are my weaknesses. I thought as you said pizza, pizza with chocolate. I'm like, ah. But anyway, on Wednesday, we will be talking about how to prepare for losing a loved one, even if you don't like the idea. Because bad news, we're all going to end up dying at some point. Okay. And then, of course, on Wednesday night, and I have no idea what the topic's going to be. All I know is I'm going to be on Raven's channel. And Raven, I have yet to get, I don't think you've given me a channel for that yet, have you? Oh, thank you very much there, Kimberly. I appreciate that. And the answer is yes. I will absolutely, I'll move that one to the next spot here. Just give me half a second. We were planning the 24th. Okay. There we go. YJ, 25th. Yes, we are now starting to book way down the line, so I will get a list of them up and running so that we can deal with things. And hopefully everything will run solid. I'm not good at making decisions. You know that, eh, Raven? I'm really not good at making decisions. I'm great at getting all sorts of things going at once, but we'll see how that runs. But with that in mind, okay, one thing I will tie this off with is a lot of the questions on the metaphysical side that you guys have been asking about. Okay, oddly enough, yes, I'm writing a science fiction, science fantasy saga. Okay, when we take a look at that, as the saga unfolds, I will be covering past lives, soulmates, twin flames, soul families, reincarnation, a new life, that sort of thing. Or next life, if you will. Okay, I am actually writing it into the saga. Now with that, what do we got here? Susie. Susie goes, but if you remember, who you are, maybe you won't need to prepare for the next life, right? Ultimately, that is correct. Okay, and you'll know that one. That's great there, Raven. Absolutely. I'm not exactly, wait a minute. Tomorrow, what is tomorrow? Oh, tomorrow is Sunday. Tomorrow, during the day, I'm already booked solid because I game from about 10 in the morning to about 3 in the afternoon. But absolutely drop me an email and I will do what I can. Now, that being said, guys, I'm going to bring this to a close. Okay. I'll bring this to a close. I will connect again, but until then, do take care of yourselves and each other, and for pity's sakes, stay positive.